Hello, everybody. It's me, Roscoe, and welcome to another live Kings of Anglia Fan Social, the show where the KOA Army share their thoughts on all things town. I'm joined by two fine gentlemen, Makin and George Lee, as we have got a big live klaxon because Town have made a deadline day signing in Kieffer Moore on loan from Bournemouth, and that is just what a present for us this live show. Bring you a live signing, which was 15 minutes ago. It got announced by good old Ipswich Town, and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about all things deadline day, other signings, the window as a whole. Let's bring in the boys. Matty Makin, my friend. Always a pleasure. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm really good. Yeah, nice to see that the signing of Kieffer Moore's over the line before we've gone live. So nice little bit to talk about. But yeah, feeling pretty good. I'm over Saturday now, so yeah, ready. Looking forward, not back.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that ever again, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to bother about that. We're not even going to say the team who beat us because it happened. Well done to them, and they've got, hope all the best for them into the next round.
I can't believe we didn't play that freak incident where like the whole FA Cup just got cancelled last weekend. It's shocking, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, pretty much. But no, it's a pleasure to have you on, my friend. And George, always a pleasure. How are you? And yeah, we've got some sexy stuff to talk about.
Thank you, mate. Well, sexy stuff. I assume you don't mean me. Definitely not sexy at the moment. I do have to address, I'm not one of those people that wear hats indoors, but I just haven't had a haircut for a while. I am repping Luke Chambers' clothing line, just to get that plug in there. But yes, Ross, doing very well, mate. Thank you for having me on. As Matt says, yeah, good that we've had this announcement to get our teeth right into. So
yeah, let's not muck about them, boys. And I've got here Rob Stevens gone, Kieffer Moore and all that jazz indeed, because Kieffer Moore is an Ipswich Town player once again. Obviously, had a spell with us under Mick McCarthy, 11 sub-appearances back then. And yeah, he wasn't great, was he? I have to admit, wasn't great. But he's had a fantastic career since then, since he left us, which has happened to a lot of players, actually. When they've left us, they've gone on to have good careers. Obviously, he's now a Welsh international, played at World Cup, scored in the Premier League, and he signs on loan from Bournemouth for the rest of the season. Matt, thoughts on that one?
Well, like I said in the green room to you guys before we went live, when he left Ipswich, I would not have put any money on being excited about him being back, but I am. It's really good. I remember when we signed him at the time from Forest Green Rovers, and you think, is this another sort of masterclass in Mick McCarthy picking out somebody from the lower leagues? I think, was Forest Green still non-league then? Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it didn't work out in the kind of way you thought it would. It wasn't much of a Tyrone Mings type signing, picking up a sort of a golden one from Chippenham like we did. But he's proved us all wrong since he's left the club. He's gone on. He's had a great career, and what he's done at Wales, like I say, he's played in the World Cup, he's played in Euros, he's scored at an international level, he's scored at the Premier League level. It's good. It's good that we've got another striker over the line and a striker of that quality, really. So yeah, I'm happy. Looking forward to seeing him back in blue.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it could be set to make his debut against Preston, which we'll get onto later on. We are going to do a little Preston predictions and preview as well to end the show. But yeah, George, we wanted two strikers this window, and we've got them. And Kieffer Moore was the sort of the nice cherry on the top of that cake to finish off deadline day. Hopefully there'll be other signings, maybe. You never know. But Kieffer Moore is a Town player once again.
Yeah, and he is that cherry on top of the cake. And I think it was a cherry that we needed, really, because we don't want to talk about Saturday's result, but it was a big disappointment. And I think it just gives everybody a lift. The players will see a player of his stature coming in. Obviously, he's got the Welsh connection already. And, I think it will just bring the mood up around the place. What an absolute career arc he's had. I mean, Matt's right. I mean, I did not think I would ever be happy to see him back in a Town shirt. But, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And actually, I remember him going on loan to Rotherham, I think, under Paul Warne. He scored about 15, 16 goals in League One. They were desperate to keep him. So it can just be the wrong manager, the wrong time, But it feels like under McKenna, whoever we sign, he's going to be able to do something with them. Do you know what I mean? I have to say, out of the choice we had between Gallagher and Moore, who knows, the Gallagher deal might still happen, being optimistic. But I'm happy we got more out of those two. I think as I say, he just brings a little bit more energy. Well, not energy, but he just brings that presence, I think, that's going to give the boys a massive, much needed lift after Saturday. So I'm all here for it.
Yeah, you're taking the words out of my mouth there, Joe. I'm going to say any player McKenna gets in, you expect him to be able to raise that potential. And we'll talk about Al-Hamadi in a minute as well in terms of the potential he can bring on there. But Kieffer Moore, he's physically, he's taller. He's obviously physically sort of similar to Hurst in the sense of being able to top, but he's not quite there, but not quite sort of played in the system, taking that 9 role that McKenna likes. But I've got no doubt once McKenna gets hold of him proper and puts him through his paces, that he's going to be more than an adequate replacement for George Hurst for this run-in now.
And just on the back of that, you know, we know that McKenna can work magic on people, so we shouldn't look at Kieffer Moore and think, you know, he's just a big target man. I mean, he's very good at that, and he's proven that at international level and, you know, for certainly in the Championship. But I wouldn't put it past McKenna to mould him in a slightly different role if he sees fit, the way he's done with Caden Jackson. We thought he was just a running behind type player. In a way, he still is, but McKenna's utilised different attributes of his. And he will see things in Moore that none of us see, you know. And I think that's something to be really excited about.
Oh, definitely. Attributes is the key word there. McKenna, it's been said on this pod before, and it'll be said again by people. He's a master at picking out people's positive attributes. And you say Caden Jackson as an example. He's on record as saying that McKenna's the first coach that's sort of told him what he can do and not what he can't do. You know, and he will take a player's strengths and he'll make those as strong as possible. And you've seen that with Jackson. You've seen that with Hurst. And you're right, Moore isn't going to be that lump up top. And we still have to remember, same as when Hurst was fit, that striker role in the system that we play isn't your typical number 9 goal scoring hero. What Hurst was very good at was sort of holding the ball up with his back to goal and bringing in those 3 forward attacking players behind him. And there's no reason that Moore can't do that job as well. And like you say, George, McKenna will know a lot more about Kieffer Moore than I ever will, and he'll already have something sketched out on a bit of paper about what he thinks he can get the best out of him and what's going to be best for this team.
And he's also that man that's going to be on the end of crosses and on the end of those Wes Birds whipped, you know, low balls in. He can get his foot on the end of those. He can certainly get his head on things. I think it's a really exciting fit. And the telling point, how many times have we had players that are not washed up, but no one else is really breaking their neck over having them? We have seen off Sunderland, we've seen off Cardiff, you know, clubs that have got ambition as well. He's bought into the project. And I think it's hard not to when you've got a manager like McKenna who could sell you a dream, really. And players obviously love playing for him. And I've been lucky enough to speak to a few players and they all say it's just so easy to work for him. And so Moore's going to be able to come in. He knows the area, he knows the club, albeit he didn't have a great time last time. But, you know, it's 6-7 years have gone past. He's scored a lot of goals. He's played at the Euros. Yeah, I only see this being a positive move for everyone, really.
And that Welsh connections keeps growing, doesn't it? We've got so many different Welsh connections now. And
just on that, Ross, sorry to interrupt. Broadhead, we're not going to talk about Maidstone, but I said to you a couple of days ago, Ross, about player ratings for the FA Cup game on Saturday. I just can't get my head around Broadhead's performance in that. I don't know what's happened to him. He's obviously low on confidence for whatever reason, which is surprising, really, because of, you know, breaking into the Welsh team and you know, keeping up his great form. He's just really, really gone off the boil. And I just think as well with that Welsh, national star that has now joined us, hopefully that lights a fire in his belly, because he knows that the Cardiff manager is going to be watching every single game now. And hopefully that lights him up, because I gave him a 1 out of 10 for his performance on Saturday. Because I thought non-league defenders, and he made it look hard work. And that's not a dig at him, because I like him and I want him to just get that going. And I just think this signing has so many positives, and I'm struggling to see any negatives, really.
Yeah, the next question, actually, I'm going to both put you on the spot here, but obviously Sam Gallagher has been a player that Town have had bids rejected for. Who did you want? Was it Sam Gallagher or Kieffer Moore, Matt? Who was it?
It was a tough one because you think this is a loan. I'm not aware. I mean, I've only had a brief read of the press. As far as I'm aware, there's no obligation to buy at the end of it. This is purely just a loan. Whereas Gallagher, we were looking for that to be a permanent signing, and it's clearly. Sort of in the same way with Hurst and Taylor before, that it's clearly a player McKenna has identified, admires, and wants to bring in. And it wouldn't surprise me if it. I mean, I know Maguire's gone in at Blackburn now. Wharton's gone out, but I'll be surprised if by 11 o'clock he's a Town player. But it wouldn't surprise me if we go back for him in the summer. But from a short-term point of view, he's more the better option. I think perhaps he is. I mean, again, I'd have been happy with either. I'd have been ecstatic with both. But I think it's good that we've not hang around trying to get Gallagher, trying to sort of not beat that door down at Blackburn, that we've clearly gone in with a final bid. Blackburn have said no. We've gone, all right, thank you very much. We'll move on. And we've moved on to Kieffer Moore. And clearly we had that lined up in the background as a contingency. Because in previous windows, we've gone all in on a particular target for a particular position, and then we've sort of come away with just air in our hands because the first target has fallen through and we haven't had a second, third, fourth target lined up. So I think that's, again, shows where we are now as a club, that we're run a lot better, but off the pitch, to make sure that we get somebody in.
Yeah, George, your thoughts on that, my friend? Yeah, obviously, we've got a few hours left to the deadline day. You never know. Anything can happen. Anything can happen on deadline day.
And that's the excitement of deadline day. We'll all be up to 11 o'clock tonight, seeing what's happening. I have to compare it to the Taylor and Luongo situation last year. It almost seems impossible now that we could have had the second half of last season with Jack Taylor instead of Luongo if we'd have gone through with that Taylor move. Alas, it didn't happen. It happened in the summer. I agree completely with what Matt says. McKenna hasn't had many targets that he's not ended up with. He wanted Taylor last January. He got him in the summer. I'd be very, very surprised to see in the summer if we're not in for Gallagher again. Obviously, last January, we opted for the Luongo contract and he fired us to promotion along with 10 other players. So if it's going to follow the same storyline with Kieffer Moore coming in as that experienced head as opposed to the kind of longevity option, then I'm all for it. As I said earlier, I was probably more erring towards Moore anyway, just because of that presence. I didn't see any other clubs really in for Gallagher. And I think it's natural. Do you want a Premier League striker, Welsh international, or do you want 17th in the table Championship striker? I know it's not as black and white as that, but for me, more just for his overall presence and what he'll do for the dressing room. I think I even saw just before we came on air, Wes Burns had tweeted out something like, "Oh, I love this" or whatever. I can't remember. The players are up for that, and so am I.
Yeah, I think even McKenna and Ashton have done their press releases for this signing, and I think they're very happy indeed. You can see a picture. I'm looking at a picture right now of Luke Warren and Mark Ashton with Kieffer Moore with a nice beaming smile. So that's it then. Kieffer Moore, deadline day signing. Any other business from that, Matt? Anything else you want to mention about him? He's 31 years of age. He's going to be wearing the number 24 shirt. So there we go. Little squad number fact for everyone out there. But anything else you want to mention on Kieffer Moore? Just
I mean, clearly he'll go into the squad for Saturday against Preston. He could even start potentially. It's not going to be a question of match fitness. He's been playing for Bournemouth recently. I suppose it's whether McKenna feels that he's up to speed with how we play. But I mean, I would be surprised if we don't see him at all, at least off the bench, but possibly starting. It's and with Al-Hamadi coming in as well, it's nice to have some options up front for picking again really after the last.
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly that happens, isn't it?
Day. Yeah, it's quite nice to go. I wonder who we're going right. Well, who are we going to put there?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, I think I mentioned to you, Ross, earlier. Kieffer Moore made his debut back in 2017 after that humiliation against Lincoln. We've had a humiliation again. Let's just hope it goes better this time than it did last time.
Yeah, I think we lost 2-0 against Huddersfield. That was his debut. And I think he came off the bench and we lost 2-0. So hopefully, of course, we're going to Deepdale. And obviously that was his second appearance actually for Town, was away at Preston. We lost, I think, that game as well, because I think we lost a lot of games, unfortunately, in Kieffer Moore's 11 sub-appearances. But obviously he's going to have an opportunity to start games now, because 11 sub-appearances last time out with us, and I'm sure it's going to be a better spell for him. So there we go. Kieffer Moore, he's a Town player once again, on loan for Bournemouth for the rest of the season, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know your thoughts, your comments, get involved. Let's talk about another striker that Town have signed this week. So on Saturday, against Maidstone, I've said them, sorry, boys. We had no strikers. Caden Jackson, of course, is a striker somewhat. But we're going, we need a striker. And now we've got two in the door. And the first, and bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do this first time live on a podcast. Monday's edition of the podcast, I struggled. And Matt's got a nice little paper for me. So here we go. Al-Hamadi. Ali Al-Hamadi. I think I've said it somewhat right. But yes, the Iraqi international has joined Town on a permanent deal. I think just over £1 million. It will be add-ons and stuff like that for AFC Wimbledon League 2. Matt Makin, your thoughts on that one? Obviously, he's stepping up a few leagues, but he's been scoring goals. He's young, a prospect. Recently been with the Asian Cup, of course, with Iraq. They got knocked out by Jordan recently, but a young prospect coming to Town.
I'm for long-term reasons, I'm really excited about this signing. I think there's been a lot of talk since Game Changer took over the club that we might move towards something like this Brighton or Brentford. Brightford. It's a portmanteau. Brightford model, the Brighton or Brentford model of player trading, of picking up sort of young prospects on the cheap, developing and selling them on for a profit. And this to me feels like the first of those signings that we've made. It's a contract till the summer of 2028, so we got him locked in for a good amount of time. He's clearly a player with a lot of potential. He's been absolutely ripping it up for Wimbledon in the last 12 months, and not only this season, but the end of last season. He joined there last January from Wickham. His story is amazing. Well, personally, as well, you think he was born in Iraq. His parents had to sort of flee Iraq when he was one. I don't think he met his dad until he was like 18 months old, because his dad was a political prisoner in Iraq. Growing up in Liverpool, which is always weird. He opens his mouth and he's got Liverpudlian accent. I wasn't quite. It's like when I hear Sammy Morsey speak and he's got the Black Country accent. I'm still never expecting it. But I think we have to be patient as fans. That he's not just going to come in and start sort of scoring goals at the same level he's been scoring them in League Two. This is a big step up, like you said. But I think now, especially now that we've got more through the door as well. He's one for the future. He's one to develop. I'm really keen to see what he can do in a Town shirt. I'm really keen to see what McKenna gets out of him. You listen to him talk, he sounds like he's a very coachable young man as well. So I think he's going to be very receptive to what McKenna's got to teach him, got to coach him. I think this is a really forward-looking, long-term signing. And it's not all about the money, but if he is a success and we can develop him and send him on now that we're back in sort of the realms of profit and sustainability rules, that helps with that sort of thing. And that's why you see clubs like Brighton and Brentford have done so well off the pitch, because they've made a lot of money through picking up players of the caliber of Al-Hamadi, developing and selling them on for a decent profit.
Yeah, George, I'm excited about this one because it's one for the future as well. But he can be part of this team going forward in this season as well. Obviously, now Kieffer Moore is going to be the main striker, the main number 9, but Al-Hamadi will still be an opportunity to get into the team at some point as well. So, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it is exciting. There's something just about an Iraqi international that just sounds cool, and like Matt said, I agree. His life story is excellent, in terms of his, kind of development, his kind of willingness to overcome obstacles that he's had.
Tenacity.
Is only going to stand him in good stead. And going, as Matt said, moving from Iraq to Liverpool. Anyway. He's obviously got electric pace. He's got all the attributes that sound amazing on paper, and if he can bring that to the Championship, then happy days. We've got a little gem on our hands. And as you say, the Brighton model would be to pluck these wonder kids out and sell them for 80 million to Chelsea. And if we can do the same, fair enough. But he's got a lot of work to do. But my God, have we got a good coach that can get that out of him? You wonder what the signing of Moore is going to do to him in terms of if he thought he was going to come here as the main striker. I'm sure when he signed that contract, he would be aware that Town were in for another one. But yeah, I just see that comment down there about selling shirts in Iraq. I mean, that is very true. Yeah, I love that. I love that, we're spreading our wings as a club. As Matt says, that Iraqi Scouse accent is certainly something to get used to. It's like the kind of Ole Gunnar kind of Norwegian Mank accent.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, it's, moving to Baghdad to Liverpool, out of the frying pan into the fire, as they say. I'm joking. I love Liverpool, by the way. It's...
They're well known for taking a joke well, George.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's a good signing. It's an exciting one. In a way, it's more exciting than Moore because you almost know what you're getting with Kieffer Moore. But with him, it's kind of like an unknown, and maybe Moore's career is maybe capped at a certain level, whereas the sky sounds like it's a limit for Al-Hamadi. I mean, everyone who has have any connection with Wimbledon have said nothing but great things. So, I'm looking forward to seeing him. And if he's back, I'm sure we said he might be back from.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah, because they got knocked out. Didn't they get knocked out Monday? Or I think it was in Qatar. He was in Qatar when he signed and stuff. But it was the same day, wasn't it? Yeah, so you'd think he'd been back now and been in training. So he may feature at Preston as well. So
and where he's utilised, I don't know whether
left side of forward potentially.
It sounds like he's got a lot of attributes that could almost move him anywhere across that kind of front three, if you like. So if Moore sets the world alight and he can't get himself in, then there's nothing to say he can't be that kind of electric, kind of dynamic wide player who can beat someone. And we'll see. McKenna knows far more than we do. But yeah, it's exciting. And yeah, Iraqi international. I love that. And again, no offense to Liverpool, I do like Liverpool.
That's all good, mate.
Listening to a lot of the commentary about, I'm not going to say I've seen him play lots because I haven't. And obviously he didn't play against us in the FA Cup only because he was already out with Iraq for the Asia Cup. But listening to a lot of what's been said on the various sort of pods and coverage of Town, he is quite pacey, and you think pacey, you think he's made of pipe cleaners, but it sounds like he's quite a physical presence as well. And going back to what we were saying about that the role of the number 9 in McKenna's teams, again, there's nothing to say you add a bit of pace into that as well, and that's potentially quite exciting, especially if he's sort of McKenna likes to bring pacey players off the bench at sort of 60, 70 minutes. You think you've been battling against Kieffer Moore for sort of 2/3 of the game, and then you got, oh, hang on, I've got to move this lightning quick young lad. It's that's quite an exciting prospect as well, potentially.
Yeah, I think we've signed 2 different strikers, haven't we? One who's sort of started their career to Kieffer Moore, who's still probably at his peak right now, and hopefully he can continue that. Obviously, my rule is he's 31, so but I let him do that. He's a Welsh international. He scored in the Premier League.
Speaking of the over 30 crowd, you can't roll this out, mate.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No, but looking forward to seeing Kieffer Moore back in a Town shirt, and of course Al-Hamadi to make his Town debut as well. Well, boys, I want to get your overall thoughts on the transfer window as a whole for January, because 4 signings in the door. Of course, Jeremy Sarmiento was the first, then Lewis Travis, and then the 2 strikers this week. How do you rate it? Obviously, got a few hours left, so there could be another signing, could be another 2, 3. We never know. But Matt, overall thoughts on the window as a whole, if this is the deals that are done?
I think earlier today, before we had the second striker in, I was getting a little bit anxious of it. It's been okay, but not quite good enough. But now that we've got 2 strikers through the door, plus Jeremy Sarmiento and Lewis Travis, I think overall I'm quite happy. Last January was such a sort of fantastic window to build on, and January's it's always a seller's market, isn't it? It's not a good time to be buying long-term targets, and we used it really effectively last year to get us over the line for promotion back into the Championship. But I think Sarmiento, what I've seen of him so far, he's been excellent. I thought he's really good, really important, getting the equaliser against Leicester last week. And he did pull us back into the game a bit on Saturday as well. It was another well-taken goal. It's good that sort of 2 appearances, he's got a goal away from home at the King Power, and then a home goal sort of on his first appearance. Lewis Travis, good, solid, sort of capable understudy, I think, from Mozzie Luongo. I did think Sunderland game, he slotted in really well. Sort of all the players that McKenna's brought in, he seems to have got up to speed the quickest. He wasn't fantastic, wasn't sort of world-shattering against Sunderland, but he looked like he'd been there for weeks, not days. And that was good. And obviously, we've spoken about the strikers a lot, but I think picking up on your point just now about signing 2 different strikers, it's very similar that we had sort of from January, we had Hurst and Ladapo. In terms of 2 different strikers and the way, if we remember the way McKenna used those, with sort of Hurst sort of going hell for leather for 70 minutes and you bring the Ladapo on. It's nice that we've got sort of similar options, that he's got two types of sort of strikers there in terms of Moore and Al-Hamadi. So yeah, it's been good. The proof will be in the pudding. The window hasn't quite closed yet, and it's going to be a few weeks before we know just how good it is. But I think as a club, we've done all we can to get in sort of areas that we need. And like I said earlier, we've not got hung up on one particular target and then missed out on other options because of it. And it's bringing more in when the Gallagher deal went dead is a great example of that. And I think stealing a move for Al-Hamadi, no one was expecting him to move in January. And we've gazumped some clubs with bigger reach power than us by the sound of things. So that in itself is a big tick for this window.
Yeah, and is that, of course, that's still that up in the air about Brandon Williams. Obviously, he's gone back to Man United at the moment. We don't yet know. The club haven't announced anything, but that's still up in the air. So is that a left-back role cover needed? Of course, Cameron Humphrey's been playing there recently, George. But overall thoughts on the window and a little bit of that as well?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I thought it was a solid transfer window, and today has taken up a notch. But as I said earlier, it's a notch that I think it needed to go up. I note that I think it was the Leicester game when Morsey was suspended. He was in the Town TV studio, and he made a couple of comments about needing 2 strikers. So if the captain of the club is saying we need 2 strikers, then that's going to bleed through into the dressing room. And as I said, it just gives that confidence boost. I thought Sarmiento alongside Hutchinson were probably the only 2 people that can leave that field, could have left that field on Saturday with any kind of pride, really, after that result. I thought those 2 were the bright spark, Sarmiento particularly. Blatant foul on him as well that led. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. And Anthony Taylor's a Premier League referee, don't forget. But anyway, I thought Sarmiento was excellent, and he has been so far. So that's a solid signing. Travis, I agree with Matt. He didn't set the world alight, but was very, very solid against Sunderland. Thought he struggled a little bit against Leicester. But I suppose going away to the league leaders in a new team, it's natural. So certainly not closing any doors on him. He looks like he can be a very able kind of Morsey / Luongo type replacement, or, deputy or whatever. And who am I seeing? Al-Hamadi, we'll just wait and see. It's exciting on paper. And obviously Kieffer Moore is absolutely the cherry on the cake that will get the whole fan base excited this evening. And as you say, Ross, it's not dead and buried. Our window could go to the final second. Brandon Williams, what I saw of him, certainly against Preston at home, that goal he scored, there's so much to like about him. He's got aggression. He's got that person. He just looks like a footballer. I don't know how to explain it, but sort of cheeky mank lad, he's what you want in your team. Got good pedigree. He's played at a good level, but whatever personal issues he's got going on, we don't want to speculate whether it's injuries, illness, something else. It's something that Ashton and McKenna and the team have got to be wary of, because if he goes back to Man United, then left back cover, right back obviously with King JD himself injured. Full back being our strongest position by a mile going into the start of the season is now starting to look depleted. For me, Humphreys has done well when he's played left back, but he's not a left back. I think if I'm honest, against QPR when he played the full 90 at Portman Road at left back, I think there was a little bit of academy tinted glasses on that. I don't think it was as amazing as I thought. He looked a bit lost in that first half particularly. And we don't want him there long term. He's a naturally gifted midfielder. He's going to be a top player. But the seasons are going to tick by, and if you're going to do something incredible in the game, the chances are you're making that step around this age that he is, 20, 21, whatever. So regardless, I think I'd be looking at getting him a really solid League One loan move, top half League One. Somewhere like Derby would be ideal, where he can just go in front of big crowds, set the world alight, come back to us and hit the ground running. And then, of course, that leaves Marvin Johnson, who we've been linked heavily with. If we got him and that allowed Cam to go, then I'd be all for it.
Do you think he goes out if Johnson comes in tonight before 11? Do you think there's maybe something lined up for Humphreys? And
I'd be very surprised if they've not. I'd be surprised if they've not at least had a few conversations. We saw how quickly the Elkan Baggott one got done, or at least to us, we perceived it as being quick. That could have been weeks of talk, and the very same thing could be happening with Cam at the moment. And if he does go out, I'd be happy with that. He's at the age now where if he's going to be the player we all think he can be, he can't be playing games at left back every 5 games, and if he's not going to get in our midfield, then get him some game time and see what he can do.
Well, that segues nicely though on George onto Elkan Baggott. Obviously, that's another business that's been done today. He has joined Bristol Rovers, of course, in League One for the rest of the season. Matt, he's of course been with Indonesia in the Asian Cup. Of course, got knocked out by Cameron Burgess' Australia in the last 16, but he's now going to be playing League One football, which is what we wanted him to do. Last year, he was at Gillingham, then he went to Cheltenham, but sadly didn't really play. I think played 1 game, but he's now going to a Bristol Rovers side who are 11th in the table, doing pretty well under Matt Taylor. So hopefully he'll be playing week in, week out. He'll be, going up head to head with James Wilson, formerly of his parish, obviously. He'll be playing against him in defence, trying to battle to see who can start. But thoughts on that? It's just a good loan move for him, and it was always needing to go out on loan.
Yeah, I think so. He needed a loan move. It's a shame last season, really, because the loan spell at Gillingham started quite well. He was scoring goals. He seemed quite popular down there. We obviously brought him back to move him out to Cheltenham to get some League One football, and like you say, that didn't work. He hardly played any football at all, really. He's looked good in the League Cup appearances. I think the Fulham game before Christmas. He looked very good. Obviously, he got the consolation goal towards the end, but I thought actually he looked like he bulked out a bit. He was a bit more. He's never been a skinny lad, but he definitely looked a bit sort of stronger, tougher in that game. Indonesia haven't had a great tournament in the Asia Cup, but again, he's got some minutes out there at an international tournament, which is going to do him some good. So moving on, I haven't paid a huge amount of attention to the League One standings, and but I don't know where Bristol are on the table. But hopefully he'll get
11th from the table.
Okay, so solidly mid-table. So hopefully he'll get plenty of minutes. We know, unfortunately, from recent experience, that League One can be quite a competitive league, especially when you're in that middle pack, and it can only be good for his development, really. So hopefully he has a nice second half of the season down in the southwest.
And he was unlucky at Cheltenham last year. I think Wade Elliott had not long taken the team, or they'd certainly started picking up a few results. I know they obviously got that 1-1 draw with us at their place when we were on our unbelievable run. And I think he was just a victim of them suddenly starting to keep a lot of clean sheets. And
I think he got injured as well. I think injured as well. But as you were saying, Carol,
I have to be honest, Elkan is the one. If you had to say keep or sell between Elkan and Cam Humphreys, for me, Elkan is the one I'm most excited about. I just think he's got everything going for him. He's got the look. Sorry, Gemma, if you're listening. He's a good-looking lad. He's a tall guy. 6'4". He's athletic. I was with my mate Dan at the Bristol Rovers game, and we were sat right at the front because obviously season tickets get moved and whatnot. We didn't realise how tall he was, and we were thinking that this lad could play any sport he wanted to. You know, he could play rugby, he could play wherever. He's just got that athleticism that I really like. Left-footed, naturally talented. I'm really bigging him up here, but I really, really like the look of him. And if he can get the right move, and whenever he's played, he's not let us down. You know, I'm not one of those that suddenly call him to play week in, week out in the Championship, but he's obviously going with, is it Matty Taylor at Bristol Rovers?
Yeah, Matty Taylor.
Yeah. You know,
definitely not Joey Burton anymore.
No, definitely not.
We'll leave that one there.
So yeah, he obviously is going with a decent manager in Matty Taylor, someone that can get something different out of him, and if he can get a good run of games, then I'm very, very excited to see. I think, to be honest, his immediate future in the Town team may lie on if we get promoted this year or not. You know, if he goes and storms it in League One and we're still a Championship club next season, I hope we're not. If we are, there's absolutely no reason why he can't be that fourth centre-back or even third choice centre-back. And I'm very, very excited to see his development, more than I am with Cam Humphreys. Not to say that I don't think a lot of them both. But yeah, Elkan for me. And by the way, if you haven't seen Bristol Rovers' announcement video, it's excellent.
It's good. Yeah.
It is very, very good.
Elkan. Yeah. He can just do everything. He can do the dance. He can do everything.
That's what I mean. He can do everything. And, you know, he's just got that. He's just got the X factor. You know, he's just got it. I don't know what
all those millions of followers. All those millions of followers.
I mean, he's just, he's
love him. They absolutely love him.
I think
it's a bit of a win-win for him as well, because if we do go up, it increases sort of the quality of loan that we could get for him if we keep developing as well. That whatever happens, he could be playing some Championship football next season, whether it's sort of with us as sort of part of sort of squad rotation or on loan if we do reach the quote unquote promised land.
Yeah, indeed. So best of luck to Elkan on loan at the Gas in League One, and I'm just looking now. You know, less than 3 hours till deadline day. Slam shut. And one thing I want to talk about, boys, actually, before we sort of look ahead to other bits and bobs, isn't it nice that it's not a quiet day expected at Portland Road? Because that was always the normal, piece online, a few years back, quiet day expected at Portland Road. It just feels nice, doesn't it? Like, it feels like there's actually business being done at Portland Road, and it obviously has changed a lot since with Game Changer coming in. Obviously, last January, a lot of our business was done, weren't it, really? Actually, I think some of us were a bit disappointed, like, God, there's no deadline day move. But it's because we got Broadhead done, Hurst done, Harry Clark done, Massimo, of course, is already in the building, but sort of got those players in already. This time around, we've had to go to lastminute.com, which Aston has said before he doesn't really want to do that, but had to go down to the wire because of other things need to be moved, and he had to, it's just nice, isn't it, Matt?
I think it is, and it's... Today, it feels different to sort of when we were scrambling around behind the sofa and pulled out Gaston Hadman and Panucci Kamara a couple of summers ago. It's not ideal. You would have wanted sort of players all signings through the door before we all got out of bed this morning, but we've had to wait for other pieces of the puzzle to move, dominoes to fall to get players in. And it feels like there's been a plan, and it's the sitting around waiting side of things for these things to done. That there was more confidence, I felt, certainly for me today, that deals were going to get done than in previous sort of transfer deadline day. I don't buy into the big kind of transfer window, yellow tie, celebrate it, transfer deadline day nonsense. But it's nice that we've had a nice, controlled, exciting end to the window.
And I think, like you say, Matt, the dominoes falling effect. In a way, it's kind of nice that we are in a position now where we're signing players where the dominoes do have to fall for them to be allowed to leave. They're obviously thought highly enough that clubs aren't just willing to let them go. In windows gone by, we're not competing with anyone. We're signing free agents and we're signing whoever. But the fact we're we're going for players that are at top clubs and are well thought of is different altogether. But I go back to my point about McKenna. It's almost like we have so much confidence in him that it doesn't really matter who we bring in. If it's a name, we know they're not going to be bad. And if they are, they soon won't be, or they'll be out. So yeah, it's a very different transfer deadline day, and one we need to relish because it's not going to be like it forever. Or well, I certainly hope it is. But yeah, what a breath of fresh air.
What time to be alive. It feels that there's more trust, not just in McKenna in terms of identifying targets, but the backroom staff that we've built up now since Game Changer came in to identify targets. McKenna clearly said he's an attributes guy. He will be, and Mark Ashton's talked about the data dashboard a lot, that McKenna will be saying, right, I want players that can do X, Y, and Z, and then that team is going off and finding right, players ABC can do X, Y, and Z. And it feels like there's a lot more strategy and plan. Well, it didn't feel like there was any strategy or planning before previous transfer windows. Yeah. Certainly before Game Changer came in and Marcus Evans was still running. I say running is a very loose description of what he was doing with the club. And like you say, we're not scrabbling around free agents, people that nobody else want, or hang on a minute, we've deadline day snuck up on us, lads. We better get somebody in, didn't we? Generally, I've got a lot more trust in the process now.
And some more breaking news on the Pod Boys. I've just seen my good old colleague Stuart Watson has said deadline day is done and dusted for Town, and he understands that Brandon Williams has been past fit to resume his loan spell with Town. So there we go. So no need to sign left back cover. Your reaction on that, boys? I bring it to you.
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of the Brandon Williams news, obviously that's Marvin Johnson gone, which I don't think many Town fans are going to be breaking their hearts over that. And yeah, Brandon Williams fit, ready to return. I was bigging him up just then. If he can hit form, if he can get his head down, and I don't know what issues he's had, illness or whatever the rumours are. But if he can get his head down and get back to his best, then yeah, that's a top. Well, certainly from a pedigree point of view, that's someone who can more than cut it at the top end of the championship. So let's wait and see. Sorry, Matt.
No. I was going to say the same thing. I can lead on quite nicely from that. We've seen what he can do in the top end of the championship in an Ipswich shirt. And we look back to particularly that run of form over October, the goal against Preston at home. And he's clearly a player with a lot of passion. And McKenna is an excellent man manager. So I think it's good that he can stay here and continue that loan. I don't know what's happened. I'll be honest with you, I don't care what's happened, whatever it is, illness or otherwise. But the fact that looks like he is staying until the end of the season is a great thing. We can get him back to where he was sort of that October, November time on that good run. Get him back up to speed, then that's fantastic. It does, to use a cliche, it almost feels like another new signing in the window because he's been out for when was the last time he played? December, some point. Must have been probably before Christmas. So it does feel like getting the player in the door or back from injury. So yeah, good. That's really good news. And yeah, Sam, Marvin Johnson would have been good cover if Brandon was going back to Manchester, but. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to lose any sleep that he's not coming here this window.
And I think Brandon just has that he strikes me as one of those players that needs to feel the love. Do you know what I mean? He strikes me as someone who's quite active on social media. He's probably, on the ITFC timeline after the game, reading into everything. I think he's a real heart on his sleeve kind of guy. And what I would say to Town fans is let's just get behind him now. Now he's back. He's obviously got such a great pedigree and he can do good things for us. And we all know what the rumours were. I don't need to spread them on here, but they were clearly absolute nonsense. And if they were true, what was being speculated, he wouldn't be at the club anymore. So hopefully we can just bury the hatchet on that. We can stop the rumour mill around him and just let him play football. And as we've said, he can clearly cut it at this level. He can cut it at a level above because he's shown it before in patches. And as we say, we've got the right manager to get the very best out of him. And it's not beyond the realm that he's a permanent move in the summer if the second half of the season goes really well for him. So yeah, let's just get behind him and you can get back to his best.
There was a rumour it was going to be loaned to buy originally, and United got a bit cold feet about that in case he had a good spell here and they could get more money for him elsewhere. But if we could bring him here permanently, he fits in well with that squad. I think it'd be good that he's back here. They've got leaders in the dressing room like Sammy Morsey, Connor Chaplin, Wes Burns, that can put an arm around him. He's clearly a player, like you say, who needs to feel the love, and he's going to get that here because he's been popular with the fans as well. We all loved it when I think it was the Preston game as well at 4-2 when he's at a crunch out, which he probably should have got a card for when you watch it back. But the way he whipped up the West Stand lower in front of him, my mate and his boy sat there, and I don't think my friend's son calmed down for the rest of the day after that because he was pretty much had Brandon Williams right in front of him whipping him up.
It's great seeing players with that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we've lacked that for a long time, haven't we? Players that really want to be here and want to play. And he's clearly wanted to be here and play. So, brilliant news.
And just on the back of that, I just have to give Harry Clarke a lot of credit because I wasn't writing him off, but when Brandon scored that goal against Preston and when he was really starting to show what he can do, I was up there with one of the first to say amongst my kind of group of mates or whatever, I was one of the first to say, I don't see a way back in for Harry now. But I have to say, since Brandon has sort of faded away, Harry's come in and been absolutely excellent. I have to say he's looked the real deal. He's stepped up. I think he's realised the opportunity he's got. And having Brandon back is only going to push that further. So yeah, it's great news. And as I say,
Norwich came onwards. Harry Clarke has really been back on the ascendancy, and I think
absolutely
maybe a lot of us didn't realise just how much management that Achilles issue has needed. And still needs now, but he's just been improving game on game since sort of mid-December. Yeah,
and obviously he cares so much about the club, and that's what he found once really to see someone who's willing to die in that shirt, and he does that. But yeah, great news about Brandon. I can only see the positives, and I just hope the rumour mill can stop around him, and he can have a real solid 4 or 5 months and just fire us into the dreamland.
Indeed, yeah. Some good news all round. Deadline day. What a deadline day for Ipswich Town. Keeping Brandon Williams, sign the striker. Happy days, boys. And live on the podcast, which is what we wanted. That's what we wanted. So happy days. Exclusive, yeah. Boom. Love that. Well, boys, all that transfers business is done and dusted. Sexy stuff is done. Hope you've enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we've got Preston, which is funny. I think a lot this week has been talk about the deadline day, about transfers, and people go, oh, yeah, we've got to go to Preston this weekend. Obviously, we beat them 4-2 early in the season, which was a fantastic game, a cracking game. As you mentioned, Brandon Williams scored that unbelievable goal he scored. But I want to quickly mention the player of the month for January. Obviously, we've had an interesting month. That's included a particular game, the last game we played. But obviously, the vote was out, and George Emerson has won it. But I want to ask your thoughts on who you think should have won it, or has George been the deserving winner? I'll start with you, Matt. Thoughts on that? Who's your player of the month?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Edmondson. That was who I voted for on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. He's been really solid and dependable. We were all a bit worried about Cam Burgess going away to the Asia Cup with Australia. And Edmondson, I've liked Edmondson. He had a really good start to his life at the club under Paul Cook. Obviously, nobody saw kind of Cam coming in and doing what he's done this season, really. But he's been absolutely solid, kind of back to his best, really. He's just been solid, dependable. He's been a really good partner at the back for Wolfenden. So I think he was very, very deserving of that award. January player of the month is always a hard one because there's only so few league fixtures in January. It's hard to pick out anyone else, and we have been a bit patchy. But I'd probably say so. Honourable mention for me would be Jeremy Sarmiento. I know he's only just come in this window, but I think again. I think George said earlier he's hit the ground running, and especially the way he pairs up with Amari Hutchinson, who's another player who's had a good month. But Sarmiento, he's looked really sharp and up for it, and obviously he was a big game changer. Leicester last week. I agree with George. Him and Hutchinson probably the two players that can hold their heads high coming off the pitch at the end of Saturday. But I think, generally, popular votes don't always go the way we want them to. But I think in this case, Edmondson, very, very worthy winner for January.
George, obviously, I know who you're going to pick. There's a few, different other contenders.
Well, I'm worried about Matt's safety at the moment because he just called X Twitter, which means Elon Musk is on his way to shoot him at the moment. So we're in real trouble. And
we're live as well on X, Twitter, or whatever. So
this could be a real transfer day deadline, literally, for Matt. Yes, I was on X, Elon, and my vote went a different way. I have to say, Matt, by the way, great suggestion with Sarmiento. I don't even think he was up for the vote, was he?
No, I don't think he was.
That is very solid in terms of someone who actually hasn't really put a foot wrong since he's played, 2.5 games. Right, okay. Don't want to be too controversial, but Edmondson, if the player of the month vote is entirely on league games, 100% Edmondson deserves it. I think he's probably had the best period over the last 4 league games than he has in the last 18 months. I can almost pinpoint to Bolton away when we lost 2-0 in one of McKenna's first games, when Edmondson sort of gave the ball away and had a bit of a mare that day after he'd obviously had a great season that year. And he's just really struggled. I know injuries, but every time he's come in, he's struggled. So for the way he's bounced back from his injuries and he's come in from the cold, seemingly, Plymouth at home aside or Hull or whatever, then absolutely league games, he deserves it. If we're looking at January as a whole, his performance on Saturday does not warrant player of the month. Now, I don't want to be too harsh, but I thought both centre-backs in that game were an absolute disgrace. That they got absolutely battered and bruised. And they had to defend 2 opportunities and they messed them both up. So how they can leave that pitch with any more than a 1 out of 10 is whatever. But in the spirit of positivity, George has had a great month in the league. But if we're just going to look at January as a whole, I'm going to give my vote, which you two won't be surprised about, to Václav Hladký, my Czech hero.
He did finish second actually in the vote. I've got the percentage up. So yeah, Luke Wolf was third nominated.
And I'm all aboard the Hladký train. And to be fair, this isn't like I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I was actually asking for Hladký to play last season. I mean, obviously Bolton went on to prove me very wrong, but I think Vaz's performance at Leicester is an unbelievable individual performance. But yeah, Edmondson, I can't argue with. And to be fair, let's just say the FA Cup. Let's draw a line under that. It can happen, But to any of you who are calling for Walton to come back in, I hope these few games that he's played has just served as a reminder of how well Vaz has actually done. And Walton has played in 3 games this season and has possibly been at fault in all 3 of those games for something or other. And I just think Vaz has just been unbelievable. I just love him. I love everything about him. I love the way he looks, the way he plays. I just love his bravery. And I know you've done a deep dive onto the Leicester game on the other pod and spoke about how he used his confidence to change. But I will do a last minute U-turn and change my vote from Hladký to Edmondson because I feel like I've been over harsh now. So I'm backtracking.
It's player of the month, not player of the last game of the month.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. But I just can't get Saturday out of my head, and just seeing them just struggle so much against non-league opposition,
I think the thing is, I don't think we should brush that under the carpet because we have been beaten by a non-league team. Obviously, we're going to move on from it because obviously, our focus now is to hopefully get promoted to the Premier League. But it's a game we can't just brush under the carpet because we have lost it. That's going to be, we'll be remembered for that forever because obviously that's going to be on a FA Cup stat year after year.
And what I'm saying is a starting centre-back in that game has won Player of the Month, which just doesn't quite sit right with me. But in terms of the league games, Edmondson is fully deserving of it. I don't want to take anything away from him. And I'm sure he will start at Preston. And I hope he is excellent again. But for me, I've just got to go for Vaz because I just defend him at every possible situation.
Boy.
He's my boy, yeah. So, yeah. But that's not to discredit George. But I have to say, Matt, sign me into
You're a George as well. You're a George as well.
I am.
George.
I am. Not quite as broad, but and not quite as good as football. The close. Close. I think I would have pocketed that striker. I'm not sure. I have to say, it's a great finish, by the way. Without going into the Maidstone game, two solid finishes. Bolton should have done better with the second one. But you know what? It's all water under the bridge now, and we're moving forward. And yeah, well done, George, for winning it. And you know what? He does deserve it because he.
Just dig yourself a hole.
I'm U-turning. He does deserve it.
I'm going to help George out here in that I think Vaz is kind of falling into the same trap Sammy Morsey has and certainly did last season is because he is so consistently good. You can't give him the award every month.
Yeah,
because otherwise it just gets a bit pointless. And he has been excellent this season. And I'll obviously back up. George has been banging the drum for Laggy on the KOA Fans Social WhatsApp group since the end of last season. I will say, and in defense of balance, and I fully don't want to see Christian Watt coming back in because Vaz is the man. I will say, if you're going to judge him on a few performances, a lot of people were doing the same about Vaz a year or two ago.
Very true, absolutely.
So you've got, and you can't. It's recency bias, but you can't forget just how good Walton was as part of that run at the end of last season, and there's a reason he got the Golden Glove. League
absolutely.
One. So just balance, but definitely I'd say he was at fault for the first one as well because he got himself caught in no man's land. It's a good finish from the Mason player, but he's kind of put the option on the plate for him to do it because he started to come out and then he's either should have stuck on his line or charged it down. He didn't really do either. And that made it that touch easier. So definitely, anyone who's calling for Walt to start games again regularly, you cannot drop Vaz on the form he's in. He's been one of the best keepers in the league for me this season, really. Although controversially, I will say I think he could have done a bit better for Leicester's goal. On the replays, he's got a touch in it, but it looks like it goes through his hands.
Let's not get into that, boys. We're not getting into that.
But he more than redeemed himself later. That's what I'll let him.
He did more than redeem himself, yeah.
He did more than redeem himself later.
I will go a step further than Matt. If you're calling for Walton to come back in now, have a long, hard look at yourself. And I'm going to have a look at myself. I know I'm in a hat indoors, so I can't talk about looking at yourself in the mirror. But there is no way on earth that Walton gets back in this season for me.
No, definitely not. It would take a catastrophic loss of form for Laggy for Walton to get anywhere near league starts again.
And
or a significant injury.
And we're talking about Edmondson picking himself up off the floor and having a great month, which he has. I will admit, all bar the FA Cup game. But do you know what? Every credit to Vaz for the way he has come back from being in the absolute dungeons, and the same with Edmondson. So do you know what? If I'm going to credit Haladki for his reaction, then I have to do the same for George. So yeah, I wish him all the best moving forward. I like him. He's got a lot of attributes. Not as handsome as Elkan Baggett, as I've mentioned, but
that's a very high bar.
it's a high. But no, do you know what? I'll do a U-turn and I'll say George Edmondson.
Bloody hell! That was how many U-turns was that? It was loads, but like that. Was good conversation.
Became a donut at this point.
Pretty much. Yeah,
let's just give it to Chaplin and be done with it.
Okay, there we go. I don't think he's actually had a great month, really. Chaplin hasn't scored.
He hasn't. We can get into that, but I mean, we've been on for an hour already.
He hasn't. He gets a pass for
he's Chaplin,
scoring a headed goal against Sunderland. Yeah, in a box full of people that he had no right to score.
Once again, I forgot about we play Sunderland this month. This month has just been mental, isn't it?
Mad. As Matt says, because you've got cup games and you've got the transfer window, it's almost it doesn't count.
It's a weird month. It's a weird month.
Chappers gets a pass just for. I mean, to be fair, Leaf put it on top of his head, but Chaplin, as a player of that height, had no right to be scoring that goal against. I'm very glad he did, but yes.
Did, yeah, yeah. Well, as we are getting over to the hour mark, boys, we'll just quickly wrap up with your prediction for Preston. There we go. Today's just got to me, boys. But yeah, Preston, deep down, long trip up there. We've already been there this season. In pre-seasons, we went there, and Preston didn't look good at all. We beat them obviously 3-0, and that was an easy day at the office. Obviously, since then they had a great start to the season, but now they're 12th in the Championship under Ron Lowe. I think there's a lot of frustration up there. Of course, they got Will Keane, a former striker of East Parish. That'll be Will Keane versus Kieffer Moore. Your thoughts on this one, boys? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm confident. We gave them we put in a good performance against them, and it was a kind of top of the table clash when we played them here in October. They've since gone off the ball. I think they're out of the top 6 now. I think, aren't they? And we need to, after last Saturday, he says, not mentioning it for the umpteenth time, we need to go out and get a reaction, because it's not a season derailer what happened, but we do need to snap back into it, and this is a really good opportunity. So I'm confident that we can go up there again and get what I hope is a comfortable victory.
Yeah, I hope so. George, we already spoke about maybe Will Kieffer Moore starts straight off the bat. What you think about the team-wise? You know, of course, there'll be loads of changes because we have 10 changes for the Mainstow game, so there'll be players coming back into the team. And yeah, your thoughts on it as a whole?
Yeah, I'd have Walton in goal. No, I do think Moore will start. I think we just don't really have much option. The Broadhead experiment is over. And hopefully get him back on the left, get his confidence back up. You referenced earlier the Huddersfield 2-0 after the Lincoln FA Cup defeat, where, I mean, to be honest, we didn't have much momentum to really to stop when we played Lincoln away, whereas this time it has. I think this is, in some ways, this might be the biggest game of the season so far in terms of just getting back on the horse and putting everything behind us. I think this is our biggest test of character, which sounds ridiculous after losing to a non-league team, but it's the losing to the non-league team that we need to now really show our character, because we couldn't score against them. You know, we did everything, not everything right in that game, obviously, but you know, it wasn't
38 shots. 38 shots.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, if you're having 38 shots and scoring 1 against a non-league side, what confidence does that give you going to historically quite a difficult ground in Championship? I mean, but yeah, obviously Preston, Ryan Lowe, I don't know if he's struggling a bit. I know there was talk not so long ago about him leaving and getting the boot from Preston. But yeah, I think it's a test of character. But I do think, as I said earlier, the Kieffer Moore signing is going to be such a lift to the players. I think they're going to be so fired up for this game. And I have to say, on Saturday, the likes of Harry Clark and all the teams, to be honest, they looked absolutely devastated because they knew that they'd messed up big time. So I think they're going to have that fire in their belly all week. And on top of these signings, I'll go for a 3-1 victory.
3-1. What do you reckon, Matt? What's your score prediction?
I've got 3-0.
Oh, clean sheet. Oh,
Back
and Vaz hit clean sheet.
That's clean sheet.
Now you're talking, Matt. Welcome to the side.
That'd be a good win there up deep down, because it's a long way to go, and to lose that would not be good. But no, boys, look forward to that. And any other business? We're not going to do a strike because we've gone over the hour mark. I'm sorry, boys, sorry to let you down, but I think as we've done a good hour, we'll sort of wrap up here as a deadline day gets closer and closer to close. But any other business from either of you? Matt, anything you want to mention? Obviously, with our connection with the Trap the Girls, we, of course, for them up and down the country, they've got a season-defining game. I'm putting it out there. It is a season-defining. If they lose, then see you later. Because it's right now, teams are, fighting for promotion. Only one team can win the league. A few points away from Portsmouth, who are, of course, up there doing really well. Obviously, we lost against them last week after extra time. But, big game, that one.
It is, yeah. I was going to say I'd be remiss in my role with the Women's Supporters Club if I didn't mention it's Groundhog Day this Sunday at the AGL. We had Portsmouth there last Sunday for the quarterfinal of the FA Women's National League Cup. Like I say, it was a bit of a worldy goal in extra time that took Pompey through. But we gave them a good game, and we've gotten back in the league, and it is an important one. The season isn't dead yet, but we've used up all of our free hits really. But as always, I would just encourage as many people to get down to Felixstowe Sunday, 2:00 kick-off as you can. It's tickets are on sale in advance on the club website, and you can get them on the turnstile on the day. We're sort of easily getting over 500 supporters there every home game now. I think, unfortunately, I didn't make Portsmouth last Sunday because I wasn't very well. But the Charlton game in the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago, we had over 770 fans there. I've got a really great away following as well. So, yeah, just if you can, get yourself down to the AGL Arena on Dalewood Avenue in Felixstowe for a 2:00 kickoff in what Ross says is a really crucial game in Town's promotion bid.
Indeed. What sort of numbers are the other women's teams getting attendance-wise in that league, you know?
Well, we're the better team, aren't we? We're definitely up there.
We're definitely up there. It varies across the league, but I think London Bees away a couple of weeks ago, I think was 95, and most of that was Town fans because we took a coach of about 40, 50 odd to Barnet for that one. So we're doing quite well. We're looking to expand. We've had 4 figures before for the Southampton FA Cup game a couple of seasons ago. We had over 1,000 in there, and we completely packed out Felixstowe to its 2,000 capacity for the West Ham quarter final in the FA Cup. What's that, 2-3 seasons ago? So yeah, numbers are growing exponentially. Ross, you've been following the Tractor even longer than I have, so you've seen the numbers go from couple of people and the dog to really decent crowds over the last sort of 6-7 years, haven't you?
Yeah, and Felixstowe, George, you're based in Felixstowe, aren't you? I think
I am, mate. I am indeed.
And Felixstowe, what like this, the seaside they've got a nice little setup down there. They've got a nice little clubhouse, got a sweep shop, got a nice seaside burger.
Absolutely, yeah. And to those fans who are questioning whether to come down to watch the women play, first of all, I'm going to speak from a neutral point of view. I know you guys have been involved in it for a long time. I know a lot of the questions that are asked by the ones who have never seen a women's game is in terms of what the quality is like, what the setup is like. What I will say is that, number one, you'll go to Felixstowe. It's a very welcoming ground. You'll be with like-minded people. You'll really enjoy yourself. And number two, you'll enjoy the quality of the game and you will leave feeling thoroughly entertained. And for half the price, a quarter of the price of what you can do for the men's team. And just go and enjoy yourself. And we can see what good attendances can do to the men's team. And I'm as guilty as anyone in terms of I should get down to watch the women more often. I have been a few times and always enjoyed myself. So if any of you have not been to a women's game before and are questioning it, it's a great family environment, and you'll leave not feeling shortchanged. And Felixstowe's a great little setup, and you'll enjoy yourself. So definitely, myself included, we'll all go down and do what we can for the women's game. And it just shows even more what an amazing club we now have under the new ownership. And we all work in tandem. And let's just smash it, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's we've got a noisy crowd there. We've got 2 drums on the go now. We've got the atmosphere section, and the players have spoken a lot about the atmosphere. It's been about a year since we started sort of building up that as a supporters club, having a sort of the I'm going to call it the singing section because it always sounds a bit tin pot, but sort of the noisy section. Definitely what I meant, and it's made the AGL a really difficult place to go. Teams really don't like it because it's quite a not hostile, but it's an intimidating atmosphere to come to. And we weren't even allowed to take the drums to an away game earlier this season, citing health and safety reasons. And we then found out that the men's game has had drums at that ground, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, definitely get yourself down there.
And they're good games. As I say, you'll be entertained. So if you enjoy football, there's no reason why you won't enjoy a nice day out in Felixstowe. And come and say hello to me if you find me.
Yeah, buy me some sweets if you fancy, guys. Bring some sweets. I'll be pitch side, taking some snappy snaps as always. But yeah, 2 p.m. kickoff at the AJ Arena in Felixstowe. Go and support if you can. And obviously, if you're going to Preston this weekend, safe journey. If you're not, follow coverage with us as always. Me, Stu, and AJ will be there to bring you the normal stuff. But yeah, boys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me. George, have you got any other business? Sort of me and Matt's other business. I know you got involved there, but anything you want to shout out or anything like that before we wrap up?
I did have something, but I forgot. Oh, just a quick one. I'm just interested to see what's going to happen with Jack Taylor for the rest of the season. He, to me, just doesn't quite feel like he's settling into that kind of midfield role alongside Luongo or Morsey. Whether he moves into that number 10 role, we've spoken about Chaplin kind of losing a bit of form, but for me, I think Chaplin's still nailed on. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. He's obviously got bags of talent, and yeah, I'm just excited for the second half of the season now. What a deadline day it's been, and yeah, some real positivity going into the second half of the season from everyone. And yeah, let's just keep the ball rolling, quite literally, and hopefully it just gives everyone at Portman Road a bit of a lift as well. The atmosphere, we all, I'm sure, are aware it's been a little bit flat, certainly against QPR at home. I understand that we didn't necessarily have the players on the pitch that were really kind of exciting us, but at the same time now, with the players that have come through the door, there's no reason for us not to have optimism. And we're still in the top two at February the 1st. It's mental. So, yeah.
In defence of QPR, I think most people were for a roast dinner and cheese at that point. So
I mean, that's the other.
It's that weird bit between Christmas and New Year, isn't it?
Yeah. It was cold. It was bloody cold that night.
It was cold.
And it's a weird team.
I didn't know what day of the week it was. I'd eaten too much dairy.
Yeah, I mean, the Taylor one will just interest me. It's not really a discussion point as such yet, but just to see
it's a shame. Quote what Stu was saying on the main pod. It's a kind of a shame. Another reason it's a shame we're not in cup competitions anymore now, because that would have been a good opportunity to sort of put him into that 10 just to see what he could do, really. And there's not really going to be an opportunity to experiment like that now.
Yeah. But do you know what? Time will tell, and McKenna has the answers. I'm very confident in that.
Indeed. Well, we shall wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thanks everyone for joining us once again, live on all platforms, on the Facebooks, on the YouTubes, on the X. We always call it Twitter, though, don't we? I know Elon won't be happy about that, but X, boom, and all that jazz. But Matt, George, thanks for joining me. We're back for another Fans Social Live next week, so stay tuned, get involved, and yeah, bring on Preston. Bye for now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's end this stream. The town.